Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's time again for another shot of my bathroom and Star Trek rewatch. John Sancho's here, and everybody's here, and just in time. We were having some technical difficulties, but
no, we were not having technical. Mitch was having technical.
No, I got a tornado watch going on right now in my area.
Seriously, are you in the path? Are you really?
Yeah, they just came on the TV. These tornado warnings. I'm like, I got to go do a podcast.
I live less than an hour from Mitch, so I'm in the path too. We just got warnings all over the place here.
I'm sorry to hear that, guys.
So in the middle of the show, if we just disappear,
if it goes out,
I don't know what happened. Yeah,
but it was great for a moment. We thought all we were going to get was the bridge of Enterprise.
Well,
and I was going to say live from the Star Trek catalog. Here's Mitch. So
I bid 6 quartrons on the newcomers.
So. All right, I don't remember. I got to be honest. I totally forgot what the title of the new episode is. It's episode 4. Shame on me.
I believe the episode title was "Stupid." I believe that's what
I agree. Okay, again, it was. Honestly, this show is like a 200 Major League Baseball player in terms of. All right, he gets on base 1 out of 5 times. I don't know if that's enough to really keep me excited, but it's some productivity. So. I gave it 5 out of 10.
I don't know. I just like this whole episode from beginning to end. I felt myself annoyed from the opening, and then I'm like, oh, okay, but maybe it'll get better. And then it was annoying all the way through.
It was called Temporal Edict.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And it was just
nothing.
No, whatever. I guess. What did you think?
No, I'm sorry. It was called Moist Vessel.
Oh, that's right. It was Moist Vessel because I remember seeing. I remember seeing it on the screen and everything too.
Oh, here's the deal. I finally figured out what the problem with this show is. When I was watching it this morning. I watched the show. Okay, stop. It doesn't know what it is. Is it a serious show that's animated with a couple jokes thrown in, or is it an all-out wacky? Hilarious show that has elements of serious stuff going on, because I'm watching it and it was actually exciting, like the old Star Trek, because it's like, oh my God, they've been infected by this bio bomb that's going off all over the ship and the other ship was getting wrecked. It's like, holy crap, what's going to happen? And then we just throw some jokes in there, and then meanwhile we have, I don't know what her name is, the
Marinara.
Marinara, the green Orion girl?
Oh, no. That's Tendi.
Tendi. She's with the B story with this guy who's going to Ascension. And I'm like, oh, so this is supposed to be serious. And then the two stories intertwine at the end where the ship's being flooded and she has to save them. And I'm like, oh my God, this is tension. And they can't leave it alone because then the guy is sent, spoiler alert, but it becomes a big joke and a big goofy, ha, ha, ha. Look, now we're back to the jokes and stuff. I'm like, what do you want to be? A funny show or a serious science fiction show? Because it's not working for me anyway.
No, I get it.
Pick one. I'm watching it. I'm engaged. I like what's happening with the story. I'm excited about what's going to happen. But then it gets stupid. I'm like, well, fuck it. Pick one.
See, I think it knows what it wants to be. I just think it's poorly executed where it's a comedy. And yes, it will have Star Trek adventure tropes to it, but never forgetting that it's a comedy. You go back to when the zombie virus happened and all this stuff was going on and Tendy's in sickbay. It's like, no, pump that guy's heart. And it's like, okay, that was funny. I mean, that's a decent moment in the show. But no, I'm totally with you guys. And that's, again, it always comes back to bad writing because the funny stuff isn't funny enough. Mariner's a dick. And it's hilarious that you called her mom a dick because Mariner's a dick. And I know it's so obvious, especially with Mike McMahon coming from his Rick and Morty background, that Mariner is a younger Rick. And that's fine because Rick is the smartest guy in the room. Rick is the problem solver. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm a closeted sexist at the end of the day, but I find it funnier that old scientist grandpa always having the answers and rolling his eyes at the world is funnier than this young woman rolling her eyes at the world and you all suck and I know the best way to do this. And also, just the premises are dumb. Like, let's do the lousiest jobs on the ship. It's like, all right, it could have been funnier, and some of it was. No, but our favorite vomit joke. Was funny.
I think that could work. I'm going to do something that's going to blow both your minds right now. I'm going to agree with both of you in the sense that it doesn't know what it wants to be because they're not writing it funny enough. Those things can be done well. There can be drama, but there can be humor stuff. It's just I didn't laugh at all through this one thing. The one thing I did find funny at the end where that guy was like looking for Ascension and then he finds it and then he goes, oh my God, it burns. That was funny to me. And then like, oh, I see a koala. I don't know what he's looking at. Is he staring right there? All of that was funny. And then, but I didn't understand I didn't understand the rest of it. I didn't understand how they got there. I don't understand the wise ass, like, how does the rest of the crew not know that she's the daughter of the captain?
Yeah.
How does at least the upper crew or whatever the hell you want to call them, the bridge crew not know? They seem just as stupid as everybody else in the thing. I mean, there's nothing redeeming about this episode whatsoever, except for that one ascending scene. At the end.
And the Telluride guy, the pig-nosed dude, I go, that's the guy from Journey to Babel. I always like that.
People. Oh, they had Tellurites in Enterprise. A lot of Tellurites.
I always love that character. It's like, what do you think, Saraka Vulcan? I'm like,
that's the thing. They turned the Tellurites into very interesting characters that are really arrogant and really angry all the time. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that's a great scene from Enterprise where Hoshi, the communications officer, is explaining to Archer like how to handle them and how to be like a jerk to them and everything. Yeah. That's the only way they're going to respect you if you insult them back and stuff. So I always liked that. And that was a nice nod. I don't care. I don't care enough about Mariner to follow her through an episode all messed up. And the thing about Tendi, again, enthusiasm, excitement, and being loud is being fun instead of jokes. That's not funny enough. Dude, it's just not funny enough.
I can't no offense to the actress, but whoever's given the voice direction, maybe they need Andre Romano to come in. I can't stand the voice. It's like nails on a chalk.
Tendi's voice, the Orion?
The Orion, yeah. Oh my God! What are we gonna do now? Everything. Why don't you like me? It's so
Boimler's the same way. Boimler is always at 11 as well. Why are you getting that? And it's like,
I'm like, slow down.
Yeah, can you talk like a human being, please?
Yeah, it's kind of like on Seinfeld when George would get mad. What are you talking about? Everything's a rage. And it was
normal George too.
Normal
there's no,
there was rage with George. There is no range here.
This character's like that the whole time. Why don't people like me? What do you mean they don't like me? And it's so fast. I'm like, slow the fuck.
But from the very first scene where she's yawning and like they're putting up with all this crap, and I'm like, I get that you're trying to go for laughs, but this is not funny at all.
No,
it's like, if you're adhering to Star Trek, you would be out of that room. You would be under.
You'd be court-martialed. You'd be out of
exactly.
Yeah, you would be on report. You would be, get her out of my brig or my ready room right now. It was just ridiculous.
And then they're like, I'll teach her a lesson. I'll promote her. So they show her doing all these activities. And I know I'm not supposed to, put real-time numbers to it, but I'm like, how long is this taking effect? Because the other story, the B story with the Ascension, what is that, a couple hours maybe? Because the other one's going to a meeting. She's going to some type of concert they're doing. I get it. They're showing all this boring shit she's got to go do now to teach her a lesson about what it's like to be an officer. Makes no sense whatsoever if you think about it. I'm like, wait, that's what they're all there for, isn't they want to get promoted? And at the end, she's like, oh, I've been demoted again. So what? Why is she there? Like Franco says, get the fuck off the ship. You don't want to do the job. You don't want to be promoted. Why are you there?
Well, she's kind of, I mean, God, and here's an old reference. It's kind of like Sergeant Bilko, Phil Silvers back in the day, where I don't think Bilko ever wanted to be higher than a sergeant. And she just wants to, like, it's a cush job, I think. And I understand, and that's not Star Trek, but
that's
it seems
fine.
to me that
they don't play to that.
They don't get paid.
And write to that. That's not what they're writing. That's my criticism of the whole thing.
It's not a job. Is she stuck there?
Well, I think she's there by choice, but she doesn't want to be. She's been promoted. She just wants to be in the lower decks and have the cush job or just the lazy job, and then not have to have any responsibility. She likes doing the lower decks and stuff. I agree with this Facebook humor that I just don't think it's.
Yeah,
I agree with you, man. I don't know who it is. It's watchable, but I don't think it's funny, and that's exactly how I would.
That's what I'm saying as well. Yeah, but again, John, if that's what they're going for, you should be writing to that. They're not writing to that. They're just writing these random stories that just don't really connect with each other, and they're not playing to anything serious. They're not playing to anything funny. It's just not working on so many levels.
Somebody just said, I think you guys are looking at it from a different perspective. I think
it's Nagin.
Mike Nagin has a point because
from Reed Industries and New York Comic Con and C2E2 and the like. Good to see you, Mike. Sorry, you're not. You got to sign in so that we know who it is. But it's good that you identified yourself. And it
could be the Russians, John. I don't believe it's Mike Nagin at all.
I was going to say I could email you the link, Mike, if you want to join the conversation.
But the thing of it is, because I'm a fan of Star Trek and all the different variations and iterations, I'm getting sucked into that story where they found this massive ship where these people are in cryogenics. I'm like, what the hell is that? Is that? Oh wait, my brain is flying. Like, was that in the old show? Is that the founders or what? And I'm so into the nerd geek, real Star Trek universe, I can't turn it off and go into the.
See, but that's all fine and well, and you could be into that and you could be following that. What pulls you out of it is the dumb jokes that aren't funny, the loudness that is portraying funny or supposed to be, but it's not. That's what pulls me out of it, because if there are zingers or one-liners or elements that are funny within that, I'm okay with that. That's why the regular serious, we found this ship floating, we have this stuff coming over to the ship on the tractor beam, that was all cool, but it just gets so diminished by the stuff that's not funny. It just doesn't hit. And I'm like,
They always said in the description of the show that whatever the ship is dealing with, what seems to be the Star Trek problem of the week, is not the big story. It's just the background, and they're really going to focus. And again, I understand, but I'm just saying, I agree with you. I thought it was an interesting premise, and in some weeks they break their own rules. Like last week, where it was one of the main points of the story. And so from that standpoint, like Franco just said, I don't mind as long as what you do show us is funny. This ain't funny. No. And like I said, it's attitude, and it's talking fast and then talking loud and then having extreme emotions, but there's no jokes in there.
And it's also
as somebody that has been in radio and done comedy bits and done stand up in my younger years, it's like, that's not funny, and I really am an asshole when it comes to comedy. And
but even
you can see my toilet in the background. It ain't funny.
But it's also the setup. The setup isn't funny because like when Tendril, what's her name? Tendons.
Telluride.
It's a Radio Shack attendee company.
Okay, so when she goes in and she sees that gong and she like slips between them while they're all doing the seance thing, dude, I'm like, you're telegraphing this so far in advance. And then, she's going to look at the gong. You know what's going to happen. She slides through the thing, and then she's trying to get the computer to give her like sand at normal temperature or whatever, the colored sand. it just all fell so flat. It
was
just wasn't funny.
She was the Jar Jar Binks of that episode. I go, oh yeah, Jar Jar. That's not funny.
Yeah, no,
but it's supposed to be. It's like
she's eager. Yeah, her character is very one note. She's very eager. She's
and
happy
then,
to be there, whatever.
And then the guy, I thought that was almost kind of funny. He's like, I was never going for Ascension. I just wanted to get attention. I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny. And then suddenly it happens. And then I'm like, what? How does that? What's going on? He's what?
He backed into it. He backed into it.
That was funny.
Yeah,
I know, but it just kind of happened. And then she like kissed him. I go, oh, okay. So now it's like a serious moment. She's got a boyfriend now. I'm like, is that where we're going?
I thought it was great that they, he ascended or whatever. I thought it was funny that they killed him and his boots landed on the floor.
Like, well, and also that Ascension burns.
It burns. It burns. I thought that was funny.
I thought that was funny too.
The other thing that I found mildly amusing but then annoying was the censors.
That was stupid. No, that was stupid.
But no, hear me out. Because at first I'm like, oh, this is funny. They're gonna, like she's making fun of them because of the way they're saying it, and then you're the captain trying to suck up to him, so you're saying it the same way. But then when he's like, well, basically he has a speech impediment, and this is I say things funny. I'm like, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he said something else. He said, "Are you making?" There was another word he said in there, like, "Are you making fun? Are you making fun? Fun of the way I talk?" I'm like, ha ha. That's
I hear you. I mean, we're getting very picayune with the things that bother us, but I don't blame us either because it's like you can't help it. And I also have the bad feeling that this show is like so rewritten to death upstairs of. All right, that's too far. We got to change it to something else. Remember, it's a PG-13 show. Relax.
Oh, that's another thing too.
Look, all right. Hold on, because we're going to add somebody else in. By all means, Mitch. But Mike Hagan wants to join the conversation as well. What were you going to say, Mitch?
They keep bleeping the stuff out, and now I'm more annoyed that they're bleeping out the swear words because
that doesn't bother me. Rick and Morty's been doing that forever.
Oh, that because the other Star Trek they say everything under the sun. They don't care.
But again, see, this is the cartoon.
Yeah.
They know that probably it's they're just mindful that it's likely TV-14 or whatever. So
can I just say that this episode that we're doing right now, I know we'll get to Mike in a second, but this episode that we're doing right now is more Star Trek-y because if you look. Mitch is actually transporting, so he's like working more than the show was working. Go ahead, Mike.
That's true. So what do you think, Mike?
We had talked about this before, not with you, Mitch. Mitch, hi, how are you? I miss you,
hey,
brother.
Mike, how are you? I'm just hanging out. Got no convention. You know how it is. We just sit around.
I know painfully well how it is. So we were talking about this. Originally, I kind of like, first episode wasn't so bad to me. As it's progressing, I've been liking it less and less. But again, I see it more and more that I don't think it's being made for a traditional Star Trek audience. It's not. It's not meant for us. It's not meant for guys like us who have been Trek fans for 40, 50 years. It's looking to try and get in a younger audience, the Rick and Morty audience, as it were. They're doing a poor job of trying to emulate that type of thing. I'm not saying that they are, but that's the audience they're looking for. The Teen Titans Go, the Adventure Time, the Gravity Falls. And I'll give you a perfect example.
Every example is funnier than what they're giving.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what they're shooting for. They're not shooting for classic
or anything like that. I slightly disagree in the fact that it is still hitting Star Trek tropes.
Yeah. Right. If you're trying to get a new audience, why are you referring to the Telluride? Why are you referring to the
there are Easter eggs?
You don't know what the hell that is.
Star Trek history.
Because they're trying to service both audiences.
Well, that's why I'm saying
that's where it's breaking. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was watching episode 3 up in my office. I think it was episode 3 up in my office. And my daughter, who is only 7, came up and she happened to just pass by, just say hi to me. And she saw like literally maybe 30 seconds of what I was watching and laughed. She thought it was funny. She thought them screaming for no goddamn reason was funny. And I was like, this is funny to a 7-year-old. This is funny to the YouTube. I don't want to watch more than 30-second video.
Then why do they bleep stuff? Why are they talking about why
cater to everybody?
No, but when I say 7-year-old, I mean it's definitely geared to a younger.
I understand that. I understand what you're saying. why are they bleeping curse words out? Why are they even putting those in there? Why are they putting naked men butts up there? I get it. Is your 7-year-old thrilled with stuff like that too? Are you thrilled with her seeing that?
No, I'm not letting her watch the entire.
No, I understand that. I understand that.
She responded to. That's what she responded to. Whatever
she responds. She's of that younger generation who responds to a laugh is just a loud scream. It's not. It's not necessarily a joke.
Exactly. I get exactly what you're saying. What I'm trying to tell you is, they can't possibly be catering to that because of the content they're putting in there.
I agree with
the naked. The naked people on screen, the bleeping, swearing, because she's like, Daddy, what is that? Why did they bleep that? What do they mean?
I'm saying a 7-year-old. Again, I'm not saying a 7-year-old, but I'm saying like a teenage to early 20 audience.
This is brand new to them, and they've never seen Trek before.
Right, they've never seen Trek before. They've grown up on a virtual world, a tablet, YouTube, computers. Like my daughter is, like, that's their world. They're watching cat videos all day. Like, that's, I'm not saying that.
I'll tell you what, you give me a group of teenagers and you sit them down and watch this, and if they think it's funny, I don't want to talk to those teenagers ever.
I'm not saying they're doing it well. I'm not saying they're doing it well. I'm just saying that my thoughts are this is what they're aiming for. No matter what, they're doing a poor job of it.
I want to ask a guy who wrote an adult-themed concept and story and aimed it at little kids, and that would be Franco, who took Little Hellboy. Now, that's a rated R property. It's violent. There's swearing. There's cursing. But as you, the writer, when you went to write that Little Hellboy, what was your audience in your mind? Were you thinking this is going for kids, or is this going for an adult audience? When you wrote the jokes in that story, what was your mentality about that?
Well, the mentality is that I'm writing Hellboy. But again, like the visuals and the jokes are aimed at both. I'm pulling in the canon from the other stuff, like from the Hellboy stuff. Like, a little kid reading this is not going to know who Baba Yaga is.
Right.
You know, but someone who's reading Hellboy is like, oh, Baba Yaga, she's got a house with chicken legs. To a little kid, that's funny. To an adult, that's like, oh, I know where that's from. It hits on both fronts, which this show is not doing, is what I'm saying.
It's on both fronts, I think,
that's like I said, they're not doing it well, but that's the intent.
I'm
you are a person who does that well and did it well with eBay and Hellboy. You're right. These people are not. Their intent is to do it well, but they're not. That's what I'm saying. It's definitely not geared to us. I'm sorry. No stretch of the imagination.
I'm sorry. That's incorrect. That is incorrect. It is absolutely.
Wait. Yeah, I agree with Johnny.
Star Trek. It's not either or. They're trying to do both. So you're even you're negating your own argument. I'm sorry, that's not right.
I get what you're saying, John. You're right. You are right.
Wayne just put up he just put up Wayne's comment on the screen about Little Battlestar Galactica. That in no way was geared towards little kids whatsoever, because they won't know what the hell that is. That was purely sold to an adult
fan
audience.
base.
Yeah, that fan base purchased that book, gave it to their kids.
Right.
Yeah. That's what wound up happening. This should be the same thing in my eyes. This should be, hey, I'm going to sit down and watch this. If a little kid or a teenager is watching it, I'm like, oh, you got to watch this. Yep. You know, my son's 21 now, but like when I started watching Harley Quinn, we always go back to that because it works well.
Yeah.
I watch Harley Quinn. I'm like, this is hysterical. I said,
it is.
Did you watch this thing? He goes, no, I got to watch it. He watches it. He goes, this is hysterical. Yeah, because it's funny. It works.
Kelly Sue DeConnick and her son watch Harley Quinn together.
Yeah, and
I'm a terrible mother because
you don't need to know the entire 80-year history of Batman or the 30 years history of Harley Quinn to enjoy that show. You could, my wife, who doesn't give a shit about comics at all, could sit down and watch Harley Quinn and laugh at it because the situations are funny. Yeah. She's in love with Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy's getting married. They don't have a good setup on the show. Like, pick something every. Oh, it's this week's wacky adventure is we get sucked into a black hole, but we're gonna get in a time loop, and somebody's got to go to a bar mitzvah.
And if it's not, and if it's done for a young, this one's getting heated. This episode,
I like it.
But if it's done
for radio all over again, I like this a lot. This is good.
See, if it's done for a younger audience, like you say, for people not us, right?
Yeah.
Why was that scene with them playing poker put in there? That was purely for us.
Next generation.
Only next generation people would get that, would
Yeah.
think any of that scene is funny. I found it mildly amusing. But somebody else coming in who's never seen that was like, "What is this all about?"
It leans
Why they
on,
play
it
poker?
leans on what the South Park people call member berries, and
Yeah.
that's fine. That's great. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
But it wasn't
primarily,
funny.
That's,
It wasn't
yes,
funny,
and it's,
no.
but that's the only stuff that lands is, oh yeah, I remember that, but not, whatever. Yeah. So
No,
Again, I'm sorry. I just don't think that going back to what I was saying, Johnny, not that I say it's not geared towards us. It's the humor is not geared towards us. Because it's just
No,
not our
I don't
type of
agree.
humor.
disagree, man. I'm
I
sorry.
don't agree. I just think
Jokes.
anything that's funny.
If
Yeah.
it was, you'd like it.
No, dude. You can recognize the tropes of a cowboy parody without it actually being funny. Blazing Saddles works because it absolutely looks like a Western and it's hilarious. There are other attempts at Western comedy that aren't funny, but you recognize what the jokes are supposed to be. And I mean, that's the issue with this show in general is it just is annoying in terms of, hey, we're really fast and we're talking really loud and we're really extreme with our emotions. But it's like, is there any jokes in there? No. Why are you looking at me? Stop looking at me. This is funny, right? No, it's not funny at all.
But you're looking at it. You're looking at it through the lens of a more mature audience.
Bullshit.
I think you're internal.
I used to do, Mike. I did improv and stand up for years.
How long
Let
ago-
me talk.
how-
Shut up, Mike.
How
I'll
long
stop.
Yeah,
ago
let
did
him
you do
talk.
that?
Let him
How
talk,
long ago
Megan.
did you do
Shut
that?
up,
Did you
Megan.
do it to-
Goodbye.
Don't do it.
The point is, sorry, I'm not done, and then I'll let you talk. My point is, I've done years of stand-up. I've done years of improv comedy, and I've worked with a lot of bad comedians who thought fast and loud is funny, and it wasn't funny. Now, by all means, Mike, hold on one second. Let me.
I unmuted myself.
There you
So,
go. Talk. Now talk.
it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny then. How long ago are you talking about?
30 years ago.
Exactly.
matter.
No, it
And I
does
was a
matter.
kid.
It does matter because the audience today, they like the loud, they like the fast talking, they like the screaming. To them, that is amusing. I'm telling you.
It doesn't matter.
baby,
Let me give you an example.
Well,
All
no,
right?
it's not everybody. You're not talking to every kid.
Let me give you an example. So
Give him an example.
a couple of years ago, I introduced my son to Blazing Saddles, the movie that he brought up, right?
Yes.
My son thought it was hysterical. He thought it was racist as F because there are a whole bunch of scenes in there, and it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable.
It's satire.
You know, you may not get that at the level if you are a younger person today. You don't understand the place that was in, like Archie Bunker. You watch it now, they're like, wow, this guy's really racist. Yeah, it was supposed to be that way. He was racist back then, but it's funny.
But
It's
even
funny within the situation, and it's funny now. Blazing Saddles is funny now. This is not, nor will it ever be.
To you or to me. I'm arguing the point that I don't find it funny either. I don't. But I'm not that type of humor, and I use that term loosely, is not the type of humor that I find amusing. But kids today seem to like that type of humor. And it's not done as well. They're not doing it as well as all these other shows who have done it. The Rick and Morty's, the Adventure Times, the Gravity Falls, whatever it is. They're not. Those shows are much more intelligent and doing it better. But at the same time, that is the type of humor that the younger audience likes.
Again, my son thinks Rick and Morty is hysterical. This is not funny. Yeah, it is. This isn't. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
I agree.
I defy you. If you find a group of 10 teenagers who like, and all of them like it, I would be astounded, and I'd never want them in my class because I don't want to. I don't want to deal with it.
If I didn't have to watch this show every week for John and Franco, I would have fucking gave up on this 2 weeks ago because I get up in the morning. It's like exercise. Everybody hates exercise. I don't give a shit how the hell in shape you are. No one likes it. I got up this morning. I go, oh, fuck, I got to go watch Lower Decks. Is that really that hard? My wife goes, you got to go watch a cartoon and that's work? I go, hey, honey, please.
You don't know.
You watch this show and tell me. You'd be like,
I don't think that extreme. I think, honestly, out of 4 shows, I liked last week's episode enough. I thought it was funny. Franco was the night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it was the one. Negan. It was the one with where the first officer and Mariner are stuck in the cave. With that's the episode you saw.
Yeah, I saw it last week.
And I honestly thought that was
it had the moment.
So
well, all right. Why don't you dissect this? Was the B story about whatever her name is, the green one, and was that a bad story on its own?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I didn't think it was bad. I don't think it was a bad idea for a story.
Well, not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Executed? Was it funny? No. So
Yeah.
Well,
Just that silly. It was the same joke over and over. Again.
I'm trying to see
too hard.
I'm trying to see the balance on this episode. Go back to the Mariner story. Was that shit bad from the get-go? From like the second, like, I know I'm gonna give her all the crappy assignments.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And her characters, I find her character annoying. I won't deny.
Yeah.
So
because it's too much. It's over the top.
Yes.
So there was no saving.
Same thing with Debbie's story. She
It should be
tried
settled.
so hard to please that it was like, okay, we get it. Yeah, we get it.
Maybe last week it was better because what's the Geordie guy? The guy with the thing? What's his name?
Well, exactly.
The guy with the implant, Lombard or
I
something.
gave him a friendship ring, Sal.
yeah, Lombard.
That's hilarious. I got to put
Whatever his name is.
So
I was
people
just
are in on the joke. Go on.
Maybe it's the characters. Maybe it's the characters are never gonna be funny. Okay. Are you an
I gave him a friendship ring. We are going steady.
Oh, that's cool.
He's gonna wear my leather jacket.
Yeah, Wayne agrees and says the A story was really bad. Again, Mariner, we were saying, Mike, I don't know if you caught that at the beginning. Obviously, especially given that Mike McMahon is a Rick and Morty disciple,
Who keeps
Mariner is Rick. Mariner is the Rick of this show. She's the know-it-all. She's the problem solver. She's so over whatever the deal is, just like Rick is in all of the Rick and Morty episodes. Rick's already seen this a million times. Mariner's seen this a million times. And that's why she's yawning when she's in, meetings and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't know. It doesn't work for me with that character. It just doesn't work for me.
Dude, I've never watched one episode of Rick and Morty. You always talk about it. If it's like this show, I don't know how you can watch it. I mean, is it actually
funnier?
Funny?
It's
funnier.
Yeah, it's a crazy Back to the Future where Doc Brown is Marty's
drunk
grandfather.
But
genius.
But it's written for adults or kids?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's an R-rated comedy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's what's that one what's the one on Hulu?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget.
I can't remember now. Slot told me about it. Dan Slot told me about it, and I've been watching.
That was funnier than this.
It was really funny.
And I disagreed with you about liking it, but I still think it's funnier than this.
I think those examples, especially Rick and Morty and this other show, and I can't remember. Maybe somebody on the chat will.
Solar Opposites, I think.
Solar Opposites. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Those don't have the Star Trek need to connect to something that already exists. So it's able to be funny on its own. And also, so there are no expectations. I really have a big feeling that this show is committed to death. So
I would agree with that.
Is this renewed for second season? Or look, Boone's Apple Wine.
Oh, no, it's early. It's still early.
I'm going to tell you because I think it's one and done because I can't imagine they're growing an audience. I think every week they must be losing people.
Well, and that's what Mike. That's what I was going to say in terms of this is what kids find funny. I would love to see basic demographics of how the show is doing. I have no idea. This is an interesting observation from Wayne. Maurice LaMarche, of course, from Pinky and the Brain, says the Rick and Morty scripts are some of the best he's ever read. I believe it.
Yeah. Pinky and the Brain was a great show. That's funny.
Sure.
That's funny.
This is not funny.
But you're talking again 30 years ago.
They're about to prove it.
It doesn't matter because
they're making new Rick and Morty, or new Pinky and the Brains, rather.
Franco, I think we're arguing the same point. I agree, it's not funny. I agree. But this is their intent. This is the intent behind it. They're trying to
and they're not very good at it.
They're trying to emulate a style that's not working. That's
right.
what it is.
But your argument is like, well, that was 30 years ago. It doesn't matter. Things from 30 years ago are still funny. Today, if you write something funny, it's funny. If it's not written as funny, it's not funny.
Yeah, I don't find that argument.
Do you find that screaming that so many videos do today funny? Because I don't.
because this show would be hysterical right
now. Was
now.
it funny 30 years ago? Because it wasn't.
Like, what? Give me an example of something.
Yes, it was.
I don't know. I see kids watching videos all the time where it's just like somebody on YouTube going, "Ah!" and then everyone laughs.
That's porno. You're watching the wrong shit. Now listen, Friends,
right?
Friends was so popular 20 years ago. HBO just paid $100 million to get it back.
It's the Brady Bunch for little kids.
Right.
They all watch Friends.
And I
was watching an episode of the Brady Bunch where they had the boys against the girls were building a house of cards to win a prize. It was funny because it was funny then. My son was even laughing at it because we were watching it.
Okay. But your son and my kids were raised by us who ingrained them in so much of that stuff. Not everybody does that, Franco. Like there's a whole world of TikTok kids out there who find certain things funny that we would never find funny.
The other thing, Mike, honestly, and I understand what you're saying.
Get out!
Star Trek has always been a trailblazer show.
Yes.
Star Trek has always been original and literally lived up to where no man has gone before. And now they're trying to do it with comedy. But like all the other new Star Trek, there's just shit missing. And it just doesn't land right.
I'm not defending the show. I'm just I'm trying to say I understand the intent.
You're a Trek apologist.
That's right. This is like MASH in the later episodes where you watched it.
Don't you talk about MASH. No, don't.
I'll talk about MASH.
Don't you talk about MASH.
It's a different podcast. It's a different podcast.
I'm just saying. The first season,
we need to bring them in.
Hysterical. Then you get towards the end and you're watching the Dream episode. You're like, I'll give it a. Okay.
No, I like the way MASH morphed into a comedy drama.
Come on, John. I'm trying to make Negan look bad. Shut the fuck up.
I say we invite Mike on every episode. So
really.
Yeah.
You can hear with this if you got time. You're welcome.
I'm working now. I'm supposed to be working.
I know.
Please, who are you kidding?
I'm working. I got a virtual show to put on.
Oh yeah, that's gonna work. It's like watching this. No one wants to watch that. Don't even get me started.
There is
teenage kids to do it. It'll be funny.
There is Star Trek news, guys. I don't know if you saw it yesterday.
No, tell me. I was busy.
The regular over-the-air CBS network is going to start running Discovery. And
on CBS.
Yeah, season
so
1.
The general audience will know that it's not.
Exactly. So now millions will hate it, along with the hundreds of thousands that have hated it.
Why should
it'll be very interesting to see how it's received. What now?
Let's all be bored. Why should we be the lucky ones that pay?
Exactly. No, I'm very curious to see.
I still haven't watched it, so I can't say.
Well, that's why I think it'll be very interesting to see the reaction from people, and I think it's cool. I thought for a minute that they were going to start showing season 3, but no,
my prediction came true. Remember years ago we talked about it when Discovery started, and we talked about it being on CBS All Access and stuff like that. I said, watch, in about a year or so, they'll probably air them on CBS on network television, and I'm like, yeah. So now they are. So,
yeah, they did that with The Good Fight, the Good Wife sequel. It was a summer series last year or 2 years ago. So they're a couple seasons behind the streamers and stuff. I understand with COVID, obviously, how much stuff do you have on the shelf? Obviously, CW is doing it with, they did it with Stargirl. They're doing it with Swamp Thing. It makes sense.
It's very reminiscent of the old comic market, the newsstand and direct market. Stuff used to come out on the direct market and then come out 6 months or a year later in the newsstand.
Yep. No, I agree. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, especially considering I don't know if there's going to be a season 4 of Discovery or not, based on the fact that it was, it's a co-produced thing of Netflix. Netflix is not happy with what they got, and it's a very expensive show. And as you guys know, streamers mostly, with rare exceptions, it's 3 seasons and out. They don't really go more than 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see if Discovery makes it to it. What's that?
Are they doing the Pike spinoff?
Well, supposedly, but nothing's been shot. But supposedly, my insiders in the Trek office say that is full swing. That the Section 31 show is also in full swing with Michelle Yeoh, and also we still have, and I imagine that it's going to premiere on the streamers after Discovery finishes its run this year. It'll go into next year probably. Is Star Trek Prodigy, the Nickelodeon cartoon, because I do think CBS wants a new like they don't want to not have any new Star Trek and have that lull in between like we had with Discovery and Picard.
Mhm.
So,
but remember, we don't need syndication anymore. Like that model is done.
right.
Like single seasons of stuff can last forever, and you can get a season out of something or 2 seasons out of
Well,
something.
you can, but I mean, the reason why syndication worked was you made money after you made something.
Right.
If that model's gone, are you wasting money making a season 4 of Discovery,
Yes.
or it's better to put that money into something new?
Yes. It's almost like the comic mentality of restarting everything at a number one.
Yep, exactly.
It's the same idea. You'll never see another 7 seasons of Trek of anything ever again. That's
Oh, I would
I'll
say never
disagree.
say never, but
Yeah.
it's you
If
don't.
it's
I mean,
making money, if it's making money,
I mean,
you'll see it.
well, before Kevin Spacey's scandal, everything was going great with House of Cards.
Yeah, how many seasons is that? Up
They
to?
had 6 seasons.
But that was also at a time where there was less streaming content. There's more
2
streaming
years
content.
ago.
No, how
Yeah, but I honestly, Game of Thrones is a good example of that with HBO and everything. No, I honestly, Mike, I think if something is successful, they'll find a reason to make more of it. But they're being very, I mean, they're just being very careful with what they put their money into.
Curb Your Enthusiasm's been on for what, 10, 11 years?
Yeah, it's going to be 10th. Well, and again, it started before there was that much competition. But I would say Game of Thrones is a good example where, no, there was a healthy streaming market around it.
When Game of Thrones started?
No, by the time it was going into 4th and 5th seasons.
But you've already have your audience by then. You already have your audience.
Yeah, but when Game
You're wrong.
I can't. Yeah.
Let me get to the case. You're
I
wrong.
disagree.
I came to Game of Thrones.
You were
late.
the one who pointed out that most stuff doesn't go more than 3 or 4 seasons now.
Oh, come on. I bet
pointed that out, Johnny.
see,
No, I
yeah,
absolutely.
but
and I
there
stand
are
by that.
there are
But
exceptions.
there are exceptions. Sure, there
man,
is.
Of course,
I came into Game of Thrones in season 3. So like
But you're saying
halfway through
never.
season 3.
You
Yeah.
just said that it'll never go 7
I'm
seasons.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking in
if
not
Disney,
I'm
if
talking
Disney,
in extremes.
if Disney
I
could,
don't-
they'd make the Mandalorian go 6-7 years, but I don't think they're going.
Well, we'll
to.
see. We'll see. I
Maybe
don't think
3
so.
or
I think
4.
they'll after 3 or so they'll probably try to do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, and really, God only knows. I mean, this is worse than the writers' strike years ago, because we knew eventually they'd come to a negotiation. God only knows when the pandemic's safe enough to really go back to full live production.
Isn't stuff starting to shoot? Like I heard the CW stuff is
Yeah,
starting.
I saw. What's his name? Bradley Cooper was just at work in L.A. on a movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
yesterday. Hey man, I'm going with Ordway in 20 minutes. I'm restarting the movie
Okay.
industry. We're going to a movie tonight.
Yeah, I know you're going to see New Mutants, right?
The New Mutants that's been what 3 years in the making? How long years? Has
Well,
that
it's been
in
sitting.
the
I don't know about in the making. It's certainly been sitting on the shelf for more than 2 years.
Well,
but yeah.
that actress that's from Game of Thrones was in it, but she was like a kid when she played the werewolf girl. And,
Yeah.
Wolfsbane.
Maisie Williams. Yeah.
yeah, and now she's like what 22 or something. So
Listen, Mitch, I don't condone this in the least. Please don't do this. But if you have your cell phone and you record it or something, let me know.
hey, Tom Cruise went to the movies yesterday and put it on Twitter, but I go, but he's crazy. He's
So is this exactly? Have you? Will this be your first time in the theaters since COVID? Okay.
Yeah, I think they just opened the theaters last week.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know because some of the theaters were open like in Chicago, but they're
Oh,
showing
were they?
they were showing old movies, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, why do I want to risk going to a theater to see
an old
like
movie,
Ghostbusters or
I could stay
whatever?
home. I could stay home and watch Lower Decks. Why would
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
do that? But no, but Tenet comes out next week. I don't know how it opened in England yesterday or so. I don't know how they're ever going to make the money back on that picture. I mean, New Mutants, Disney. I think if they'll be happy if it makes $40-50 million. But Tenet, I think they're hoping for what $500 or $600
Well, I
million.
think, I think. Well, you just mentioned Disney and hoping they'll make the money on this, but I think Disney is kind of like large enough and big enough that they're kind of like, running the table and let's throw stuff against the wall and see what works, because this is coming out in theaters. Mulan is coming out on their streaming service, so I think they're just big enough to see. Let's see what works, and then we'll go with that.
Experimentation. Sure.
Right. And they could also pivot on this real quick. Like
Sure.
within 4 to 6 weeks, if it's just not working, they put it right to streaming.
Right.
Yeah.
And charge $30 like they were doing Milan and everything.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's No, it's. I mean, really. I was talking this morning. Franco saw a bit of it with the infamous Mr. Skin of MrSkin.com.
I saw
because,
that
because he produced a documentary about the history of nudity in film. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. But of course, I'm like, this was made before COVID. Did this screw up any, theater options? It's a documentary, so documentaries don't have the theater life that a normal feature film does. And he even said, no, we were thinking about like having it in New York and LA just from a critic's standpoint. But no, he goes, we knew our home would be on streaming and on all the different pay channels and stuff that you can watch. But I think it's fascinating. I mean, I wish we weren't going through this, and I wish things were normal. But the fact that so many television and films programs have to make these choices and everything to be on network, not be on network, or in the theaters, whatever.
I have a stupid question. I don't know if it came out with Mr. Skin, but has COVID affected the porno industry?
I think it absolutely is affected. We didn't say that.
I'm just wondering, are they making
Franco?
those? I mean,
exactly.
I've been active. I don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's not me. I would think, given that it's an at-home. Or you're saying production?
Yeah, I'm like, if you don't care about getting whatever.
Well, our own Skokie Spidey, I believe, lives in a building where they shoot homemade porn or whatever. Isn't that right, Francis? Isn't that?
I think that's just he did say that.
And truthfully, I mean, you don't need a big crew, and I would imagine, and especially a lot of these are. God, I can't believe we're talking about this. I would, there really are just one actor engaging in whatever activity they choose to doing. That it could be a small enough thing that. They're probably still business as usual.
As long as everybody's tested, I guess. This is a much more interesting conversation than this episode of Lower Decks.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they don't have that issue. I don't think Mariner has to worry about that.
What if a Star Trek porno movie? Imagine that he's like engaged.
There was a Star Trek porno. There was a Star Trek porn.
Of course, Naked and I know right away what you're talking about. There is a Star Trek porn.
Well, there was a couple of years ago. There was a guy producing all kinds of genre sci-fi porn. It was Star Trek. It was 66 Batman, and the production value. Not that I watched them all, but I saw a lot of the screenshots and some snippets of it. The production value was amazing.
Well, in between
the scenery, but
in between these episodes of Lower Decks and then Discovery, before we get to Pike, in that lull, we'll be doing these about the porn Trek movies.
There's no question.
We'll have a discussion about those.
They used an actual next gen set.
No, if they did a Batman 66 porno movie, like when the guys were
did
playing,
they did it already.
No, did they have the sound effects? And
yes,
stuff?
yes.
Oh my God, really?
They had a Batmobile. They had a Batcave that looked just like
what I'm saying when they
were
having.
Mitch, you should stay in more, Mitch.
Yeah, exactly. They had virtual sets where it looks like Bruce Wayne study.
I don't know
anything about the art direction for the props and everything was right.
Really,
casting for there were non-sex scenes with Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara, and they got actors that looked like them.
Mike,
really well cast, very well cast.
Can we book those actors for the cons?
Why not?
Well, Megan and I have seen like XXX Supergirl walking around San Diego and stuff.
Why not? At this point, gotta get the people back in the seats somehow, man.
No, but it's funny. I mean, I give them credit for tapping into the geek genre, and truly, like Mike said, they really made an honest effort to make it look as authentic as possible.
And they broached them all as parodies, so that they were able to get away with it.
Yeah.
And
that's what this was Lower Decks is. It's a parody.
Of course it is.
Because if it didn't have the name Star Trek on it, none of us would be watching this show.
Unlike those porn movies, it's not a very good parody.
Maybe if they put more porn into Lower Decks.
There's a TNT sci-fi animated comedy and I can't remember what it was called because I tried it a couple episodes. I just didn't get into it. But Solar Opposites, I find funny on Hulu. Rick and Morty, I find funny. I mean, I'm open to sci-fi parodies, animated sci-fi parodies.
When it's done right, it's funny.
What is?
When it's done right, it's funny.
Right. And again, I'm still psyched for season 3 of The Orville. Megan, are you yay or nay on it?
I was not I dropped out of the first season of The Orville.
I like
the second season's better.
What, John? What is there like? We're almost halfway through at Lower Decks, so they got what, like 6 more?
No. We got it's
Eight?
10. So yeah, we're close. Next week's gonna be 5.
Okay.
So we're at the
Are-
halfway
is there-
point next week.
Is there any way they're going to pull this shit out of the fire and make it a great hit? So we'll all be looking back like, oh my God, how did I ever doubt this thing?
No, I think, man, look at that first season. I mean, I love The Simpsons. I loved it from when it was on Tracy Ullman. But if you go back to that first season, there are better and worse episodes of The Simpsons. So I think every show has its growing pains. And I even think as frustrated as I am by Lower Decks, I think there's enough material there to improve and make it better. So and who knows?
I was more entertained by the Old Navy commercial that was on during Lower Decks about the mom jeans than I was about Lower Decks. I'm like, wow, this is a funny commercial. Anyway, that's just me.
All right then.
I love that they're half-hour episodes of Lower Decks, but we yell and scream about them for an hour.
Yeah.
An hour.
Yeah.
I came in halfway through, so I didn't waste that much time.
That's
No,
all
but I
right.
liked when you came in. It gave
That
us
was awesome. What are you talking about? I'm glad you're here too, man.
I like how he defended a shitty show, which is nuts.
I wasn't defending it. I'm defending the idea and the intent.
You're
It's
wrong.
always coming from
I'm not
sports
wrong.
radio. It's always better when there are conflicting opinions.
You should
And
bring
it's-
Mike in all the time. Whenever
You're
we
welcome to join us, Mike.
whenever we go off on something, Mike shows up. Hey, wait a minute, guys! I think you're giving it the
Yeah, but you always have to
I
come in
want to point
halfway
out that
through.
invitation of you that Mitch is
Yeah,
doing
that's
right
a really bad.
Yeah.
Do I really sound like that? That's
Yeah, you kind of do a little bit.
My
yeah.
mic-
now. That's like Norton with, I don't sound like that at all.
I don't sound like that.
It's a
at all.
mystery in space.
I'm trying to be like a Lower
It's a
Decks
mystery in space.
because that's how Lower Decks is. They talk about things like this all the time, Mike. Why you don't like the way I made that Hobby voice?
You're
Isn't
killing
that
me.
You know,
funny, Mike?
I don't find it funny. I said I don't find it funny, but I'm saying I understand what they're trying to do.
But you will fight for its right not to be funny.
It sucked to suck.
It's
You find out it's
America.
I will fight for. I will fight for its right to suck. Yeah.
I may have
Yeah.
to mute myself for this.
Oh man! All right, we can wrap up if you guys want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
found.
gotta get back to work.
What's that? Yes, I understand. Mitch has got to go see a movie.
I got to go
Francis
to a
and I
movie.
have to-
That's as good as I get. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll,
But
we'll miss you, Mitch. You know, rest in peace.
I'm going to tease later tonight, very late tonight, actually, for East Coast people, all three of you. God, you guys are going to be fast asleep, but Gabe Hartman and I will be talking about, and pardon me, Andy Parks as I burp.
Ooh,
The fifth episode of The Outer Limits. We'll be talking about that from season 1 of the original 1963 television show. Looking forward to that. The Donald Pleasance episode. I can't remember what it's called. But Andy and Gabe and I are talking about that tonight. Tomorrow night, Jeremy Hahn's going to be on talking about his new Comixology original series that he's doing with Chris Mitten for 40 Seconds. And we'll be doing a Word Balloon Live of that. That will be at, I want to say, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. So it's going to be a busy wrap up for the week for Word Balloon. Watch the Mr. Skin episode that I did this morning. Very funny. And and Johnny Christmas. I talked to him yesterday.
Are you doing stuff with porn?
I was just gonna say, when are you gonna do the episode about superhero porn? Because I think that would be a ratings.
Don't kid yourself. I
I'm
really
not
did want to get that guy on who made those Justice League and Avengers and the
Yeah.
Batman 66.
Oh yeah, there was an Avengers one. You're right, there was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like
No,
don't
it's-
act like you didn't
it's,
know. Nathan. Come on.
Tony Fleece say I can get you that guy if you want to talk to him. And like, of course you can.
yeah.
Talk
So-
to him.
Johnny, did you ever interview the writer Helen Mullane? She's a dog sled person, and she just wrote a graphic novel called Jesus Christ, McNiven, the Scottish Witch, or something like that. It's number 1 on Amazon. I think Dark Horse put it out.
The first
No?
time hearing of it.
She
Yeah,
also races dog sleds. I interviewed her for the radio show, dude.
Oh, cool.
You got to get her on. I'll give you the
Oh,
contact.
that's interesting. All right, yeah, send me
Yeah.
info.
I think it's for Dark Horse, but yeah, it's a great graphic novel. It's like 120 something pages by
Yeah.
Matthew Dow Smith did the artwork for it.
I love Matthew.
Oh, love
Matthew's such a good artist. Good lord.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love the stuff he's doing creator owned just to amuse himself.
Yeah.
The shit he's generating right now is amazing. I like Matthew a lot.
No,
he's
but
a hell of an artist.
this story is, remember when we were kids in the 70s, you'd watch those TV movies, like those satanic rituals going on at the farm, outside of town or something like that. It's like she wanted purposely to make a 70s TV movie supernatural story. So if you have that reference point in your head, you'll love this story because
Oh, that's cool.
it's exactly like watching something with Robert Culp or
Sure.
anybody. that you'd see on CBS.
That's funny. Stephen Ernest, yes, thank you. That's the Outer Limits episode we're talking about tonight with Donald Pleasance, the man with the power. And it's going to be me, Andy Parks, and Gabe Hardman talking about that. Man, I'll tell you, and it's such a funny contrast because literally I'll watch Lower Decks, and then at some point today, I'll watch the Outer Limits episode we're going to talk about. And it is such a pleasure to watch something that was so well made. That first season of Outer Limits, even the so-so ones, really, man. And it's so, I mean, everyone raves about the Twilight Zone. And every now and then they forget about how many great Outer Limits episodes there are. And it was only a season and a half that it lasted because it just got knocked out by Jackie Gleason. It was on opposite Jackie Gleason. But it's a great show.
I got a question for Franco. When is that Arkham Maniacs thing coming out?
Arkham Maniacs comes out in December, I believe.
Oh, okay. I thought it was.
It's in previews for order now, but I think
great.
December.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it was coming sooner than that, but see, without New York Comic Con, all this stuff. I'm like,
when is virtual New York Comic Con, Mike?
October 8th through the 11th. New York Comic Con's Metaverse.
Pardon me, Metaverse. Very nice.
Well, we call it, last one was just Metaverse. This is New York Comic Con's Metaverse.
I see. I see. It's like Airport 77.
Yeah, hurry up because Mitch is about to beam out of here.
All right,
I have to go put on my hazmat suit now for the popcorn tube too.
Tell Joey I said hi.
Yeah,
Why?
best Ordway.
Why would I? Why
We
would
like him.
I'll say, hey,
We like Mike.
You know that Mike Deegan? He said you were an asshole. What the fuck?
Oh man, swearing! Wow.
Wow.
It's
I
because
love Jerry.
Lower Decks gets me so angry. This is the only podcast I swear on.
This is to keep your circulation going, Mitch.
People watched it last week. They go, "Wow, you were dropping the F-bomb left and right." I go, "I hate this show. I can't stand it."
That's a great pull.
How do you really feel?
When the DVD comes out, I hate this show.
I'd rather watch Picard. That's how bad it is.
Wow. I don't know if I go that far. I don't know if I go that far.
Oh God, Mike!
Because it's twice as long.
That's a whole nother episode. We can't.
I did like Picard. The worst character, just real quick, the worst character in the entire show was Picard. But I liked Picard.
And that was what was wrong with Picard.
Yeah.
Although Alison Pill is aptly named because she was Alison
She was a pill.
Yeah.
She was a pill.
Yeah. At least in that show.
All
Not
right.
every show.
Next
All right,
week,
Mitchie, take it easy.
next week, I think we should drink first. Then we'd really let it out.
Nah, it's too easy. I like it sober and angry.
Bye, Mikey.
All right, guys.
Bye, Mitch.
Thank you very much. Good job. Well done. We'll talk again next week. Live exactly. Thank you. Dating game. Live
That's
long and prosper.
There
you go.
Oh, that's a dating game. Yeah.
Excellent. And as I end every episode, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. A lot of fun.